Hello folks, I'm Ed Overstreet and welcome to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel. I am outside, although I'm inside. I am outside though imaging the sun today, and lots of activity on the surface, so I thought it would be wise to see if I could maybe pick up a decent time lapse. So I started about an hour ago, and I've already taken 30 images, and I hope to get 270 more before before the sun transits, which I think it's probably going to be around 1:30, although we'll check that out. So let's head over to my screen, and let me find it here. Okay, you should be, hang on a minute, you're probably back where we started, and now we're back to the sun. Well, what's causing that? I'm going to try it again. Always when you're live, stuff happens. I'm a little overexposed, so I'm going to bring my exposure down to about there. And before we get started, what is going on here? We're going to, again, before we get started, we're going to take a trip around the sun and see if, besides these spots, let me take the reticle off, and let's move up here. I'm also interested in seeing if there's any activity on the surface. So one way to do that is to bring the exposure up, and we can see some rim activity there. Maybe some activity will show there too. Let's scoot over this way a little, and we'll go around the rim of the sun overexposed to see if there's a whole lot going on. There's a little bump about 1 Earth high or more. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's bring the gain up some and the exposure down a little bit. Nah. So far, there's not a lot that's remarkable. Ooh, spoke too soon. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can bring it back there. And let's bring the sun down. Oh yeah. Now what would be cool is if the sunspots are also in this. So let's drop this down to 105 and this to about 111 or 12, about 110.5. About 10. Ooh, 8 milliseconds. Nope. There's not much going on the surface, but there's quite a bit on the rim. So before we get started, I want to take some flat frames and let's go ahead and do that now. I want to center the sun. Kind of fill the frame with the sun. It makes for the best flats like that. And let's bring the sun up some. Oh, wrong way. Or down. And see all these dust motes. And we're going to get rid of those. So let's defocus about 1,000 steps in. And then let's change this to flats. And let's go ahead and take a quick capture of 500 frames. There we go. Let's do another 500. It's taking it about 110 frames per second. And let's take a third. Okay, let's go back to sun. Sunspots taken this morning, and let's move our focuser out 1,000 frames. And then let's bring up our reticle for centering. I like to use a single crosshair, and let's over here, and then let's go up, see if we can't find those spots again. So this is what I've been imaging, and I'm going to pick up where I left off. And I think I'm going to raise this up to about 10. And let's go ahead and set up our capture session. I'm at 270 now. I'm taking 1,000 frame long videos. Each AVI file will have 1,000 frames. And I have a pause between each frame of 20 seconds. So we'll be checking this. So we'll have a sequence of captures. So with that being said, I'm going to stop it before I start it. And I've been using as a reference to keep the sun in the same place these crosshairs here. So I'm going to raise Marianne, can you get Annie?
Yes. Come here, Annie. Come here.
Okay. My dog wants to go out, and she's trying to get my attention.
Come on. Come on.
All right.
Come on. Let's go. She's after his food. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Let's go get his squirrel. Come on.
There we go.
Come on. Let's go.
It's hard to get the mount moving.
Get Prezi. Come on.
Love dogs. Okay. Let's get centered. Let's move over. There we go. All right. Let's start to capture. Again, 270, and we'll rock and roll. I probably should have tried to focus, taken that time to focus. So I'll pause it in a few minutes and try to work on the focus. As the scope heats up during the morning, it's usually I'm required to kind of rack it in a little. So let's move it up a little and recenter. All right, it's previewing now. And let's go over. I have 11 seconds before it starts the capture. 5, 4, 3, 2, and now it'll start capturing. It tells me down here how many frames and how many frames per second. And then over here is a progress bar. And you can see how much drift I have in declination. So let's move it up. Oh, wrong way. There we go. That too much. And we're in the middle of a capture, so I won't fool with it. Let's move it over a little bit. Too much. And we're capturing again. I'm going to pause it and work on focus for a minute. So we're going to cancel, and I'm going to zoom up about 100%. And I'm going to go in about 10 steps. My moonlight focuser controls have been added in SharpCap. When I go to SharpCap settings and hardware, it lets you pick your focuser and your driver for your filter wheel if using one. If you have a rotator, you can connect that. So I connect my telescope, which allows me to control it here, and here's an ASCOM controller. And then my moonlight focuser is handled by an ASCOM driver as well, but it gives me control here while I'm not having to go out and fight it. It's hard to focus for me with my old eyes outside in the daytime. Whether you have the sun, where if you can prevent the sun from getting near your screen, it makes it better. But even then, in the daytime outside, with a towel over your head, it's still harder to focus on a laptop. It's much easier for me inside. So let's click OK. And let's move the focuser in some. One of the things that I do sometimes is I'll I'll start clicking until it gets real defocus, and I'll count how many times that I move out 10 steps. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm trying to get a visual of what that looks like, and I'm going to go back in the other direction and I'm going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to go out until it looks like this screen. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So it looked about like that, 34. So let's go back 17, which is right in the middle. Look at the wind messing with with the sun, just bouncing around. One, two, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So this is somewhere splitting the difference. I go from defocus to defocus, and then I have that and move back. So let's uh, let's go back out and let's move the crosshairs up a little. Let's go back. Too far. These mounts are fickle. You start moving it and it won't move, and then all of a sudden it takes off and drives you crazy. And that's the reason why I have at least 20 seconds between. Of course, you need some time between your time lapse, but your captures. Okay, let's go back up now. We're at 265. So let's start it again. I don't know if we're any better focused or not, but we're trying. What I hope to get in the time lapse over a 3 hour period are some. I'd like to reveal some of the activity that's going around these huge sunspots. They're so big you could fit several Earth-sized planets inside these things. They are monsters. I'm using the Quark Chromosphere, and if you've never used one before, when you start out, adjust the bandwidth right in the center. And I have experimented with moving it from left to right all the way and then incrementally. And it takes a little time because you have to, once you move the dial, it takes a few, probably 6 or 7 minutes before it settles down and you can start seeing the sun again the way you should see it. So it's takes a while, but what I have found that splitting the difference and putting the dial dead center in the middle is the best place to put it. So let's run over real quick to Sky Safari Pro and let's get to now real time and click on the sun and let's find out what time it transits at 1:30. Okay, so I have okay, it's going on 11, 12, 1:30. I have 2.5 hours roughly to get these in. I won't be able to get 300 in that time. Let's move. You don't have to be exact with this recentering because the stacking software will do all of the lining for you. But the more you stay centered, the less cropping the software is going to do. And I really would like to get as much of the sun and the sun's surface in the image as possible because when I process this time lapse, I'm going to process also for the proms and any surface activity. Although you can't see anything it's all dark, the processing software will allow me to do an inversion which will turn the sky white. And it actually has very little effect on the surface. And in so doing this, I can bring out the surface as well as the rim activity, which is pretty cool. Uh, I use a program called IMPPG to pull that off. This is that software, IMPPG. So we'll close that out. Need to move the crosshairs up a little bit. Although we're capturing now, I'll leave it alone. Also, when you're imaging the sun, it's handy to have those little sun finders to help you center the sun. That went too far. I'm going to cancel it, and we're going to go down. I was about to run out of time, and I was way off center, so I just cancel it. And I need to find out. Let me find out. Well, let me go up here, move this over so I can see what I'm doing. I am a sunspots AM. I took 44 and okay, we've got 44. So that's what I needed to know. Let me move this over. Let's start our capture. We're at 256 left. Oop. And let's go. The Quark Chromosphere is a great piece of kit. Um, it's not cheap by any means, but if you're going to do solar imaging and you want to use your own telescope, I highly recommend it, and found that it had very little learning curve. But I did mention that having one of those sun finders, I don't know what they're called. There's my Facebook page. Let's go to High Point Scientific. There we go. And see if something will come up. Yeah. Oh, here it is. This is what you need. My goodness, this thing's in stock. But this will allow you to center the sun and just mount it on your refractor, and it works like a charm. And it's so much easier than trying to look down the barrel of a refractor with your solar glasses on. So I recommend, this is a must. So let's head back and see. Ooh, let's stop. And let's move up. Gosh, that drifted a lot in a short period of time. And let's move over. As a matter of fact, I'm going to delete the last two because I don't know whether they turned out to be any good or not. And we've got 47. So let's start capture now at 253. Again, my goal is to get 300 of these for a time lapse. All of these images will be batch processed. If I had to work on each image individually, I would never do a time lapse. By the way, our scene has just gotten pitiful. Uh, I'm going to go over to my, let's go over to see what scene's supposed to be. Let me update this. If you don't use Medio Blue for, oh yeah, we're at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Look how scene has the scene index. Low is bad, green is good, and 4 and 5 is what you're looking for. For 10, 11, and 12, the entire time I will be seeing, I will be imaging the scene is terrible. So, bummer. I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, let's move up. I got 10 seconds, so let's see if we can do it. And move over and down. That's close enough. Yeah, Starman, the weather's super good. Uh, I imaged last night until about midnight. The clouds came in and messed me up. Starman lives on the other side of Greenville. I live on the east side of Greenville. He lives on the west side of Greenville in Pelzer. And he's just recently ordered a Williams optic refractor that's going to work super good with his Quark Chromosphere. And he's going to use the same camera, 174, and that's the best by far camera for solar imaging with your Quark. I have a solar scout riding on top of this, and I'm making a donation of the solar scout to a local middle school observatory. I help them with that observatory. Not many middle schools have a domed observatory and a planetarium that's state of the art. They do. Again, I'm babysitting this mount. And when you see the sun bouncing around like this, that's, and focus coming in and out the way it is, that's the evidence that your scene is not good. The sun is 93 million miles away. Pretty good trip. Some of the targets that you shoot that are deep sky are uh, millions of light years away. And so when the scene is not good, the stars do the same thing. They bounce around. Stars being suns. And your guiding software, and I use PhD too, but your guiding software is trying to send corrections to the mount. Up, crap, back down here. We got 6 seconds to center it. 3, 2, 1, up, made it. And the guiding software is thinking your mount is making these movements when it's really the scene conditions. So it can't make the correction. So when you try to guide in bad scene, it's a struggle. And I'm going to pause here for a moment. Let's go ahead now. We got 243 left. SharpCap has a tool that they're experimenting with that is called feature tracking. And what you try to do is to monitor it will monitor your mount, and it will put these points on your feature spots as references to try to guide your mount and make corrections so you don't have to continuously babysit it. But my Celestron AVX mount, which is the mount that I use for solar imaging, has so much backlash. It's just not going to be able to monitor and do a calibration. So it's monitored. I'm going to try a calibration, and it's moving RA, and it failed due to bad measurement correlation. So it's just telling me that my mount doesn't respond to these pulses. Now, you can change the movement speed. Uh, you can move it up to 16 times and try calibrating, but it doesn't help. It moved it a little further, but you're going to I get a fail. Now, if I use my Atlas Pro EQ6 mounts, which is what I have on Piers, I might be able to calibrate and use that mount for this, but my mount will not work. You should try yours, and if yours does work, it sure beats this babysitting, because I'd like to be able to walk away, go do some other things, and come back, and my mount is dead on. That's not going to happen. Now, polar aligning my telescope would help a lot, because I do have a lot of declination drift, but I'm also having movement in RA, so you still can't just walk off. Even if I had a perfect 1 arc second error in guiding, I would still have to stay here and make these babysitting corrections. Not as many, but I'd still have to make them. So, okay. Let's go back and start our capture. And we want to go at 247, I think is where we were. Starman, I don't know if you're going to be doing any night imaging, but tonight should be really, really good. By the way, I do sports photography for a living, and actually I'm retired. It's kind of a hobby that I make a little money doing, and I do all of Dorman High School's athletic pictures. So I have to spend a lot of my early evenings, or I do spend a lot of my early evenings at Dorman taking soccer, lacrosse, baseball, softball, spring sports, track, and move it up a little bit without going too far. It's like moving a battleship. Once you get it going, you can't stop it. Better leave it alone. We're capturing. Doo-doo. Starman, is the sound coming through okay? I'm getting an echo in my headphones. Let's move this thing up and over. I've been experimenting with a ZWO ASI 533 camera. I actually bought it over a year ago, and I regretted buying it as soon as it showed up, because once I went to mono imaging, uh, I didn't think I would ever go back to one shot color. And so it stayed in a box. And a member of Roper Mountain Astronomy Club was putting some images up on our Discord page that he was taking with the ASI 533. So I unboxed it and I started using it, and I really, really liked that camera. So for the most part, I used two ASI 1600 Pro cameras with astronomic filters on one and Astrodon on the other. Um, and I pulled out the 8-inch Newtonian about a week ago and put the 533 camera on it. And I'm having a good time with that. During Galaxy season, I use that, and I use the Edge 8-inch with a reducer. And I enjoy Galaxy season and LRGB imaging, but I really much prefer chasing nebula and oh yeah, I'm with you. The mono imaging is a much more efficient method of catching photons, but I'm getting some really, really good data from that 533 that surprised me. So, and I'm not at all, ooh, I messed this one up. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna go delete that one. I do a lot of deleting when I blink through these images, but if I know for sure that I've got a loser and that one is a loser, I just go ahead and delete it, because again, I'm chasing 300 images if I can. So let's move our reticles down. Our crosshairs need to come down. So, and then we need to move over a little bit. There we go. Now, I forgot where we were. We're at 66 items, so let's go to start capture 244 and what camera are you using now, Starman? What mono camera are you using? Let's go. No, no, you don't have any amp glow. No, you don't have any amp glow problems at all. Oh, you'll like the You'll like the 174. The uh, the video AVIs are so short that when you're taking 100 frames per second, you don't have any amp glow. The problems you have are focus related and Newton rings. That's the issue. I have another tilt adapter. I think they're pretty much out of stock. I was going to send you a link. I may have sent you a link, but I think they're out of stock. If you find you need one, I'll let you borrow one. I think I have two or three of them, and I only use one. Uh, yeah, it's no problem. You'll have to come over one day, and I'll show you how what I do in my backyard observatory. Our homeowners association does, will not allow outbuildings. Well, actually, they wouldn't allow outbuildings when we moved here. They're allowing them now. However, they have to have the same siding and roof as your home. And I really don't have a problem with that, but it makes a roll-off roof kind of an issue with me. So um, I have a big umbrella stand and umbrella, and I open that and keep it over my two main pier mounted kits. Not to keep rain off because telegizmos do that. I keep my stuff out year round. I use telegizmos to cover them up, but the umbrellas help keep the heat of the sun off my kits and some of the dust out. Pollen during the summer months when the threat of a thunderstorm is daily, it keeps you from imaging all night. Even though the nights are short, I go to bed once I start imaging when it's late enough, and I don't like to image in the summertime because you may have a good night planned and a thunderstorm pops up unexpectedly. So during the summer, I usually bring my mounts in the house and tear them down, clean them up because there will be pollen accumulating, and I re-grease them, and then I take them back out and wait for. I started doing some planetary imaging uh, last year because a member of our astronomy group, he is brilliant at doing it. He has some amazing planetary images. I can't touch that, but I've improved significantly. I had my piers built for me. Um, what I would recommend is taking your mount to a machine shop, or in my case, you can go out to R.D. Anderson, which is a vocational school where high school students uh, learn different crafts. Machining is one of them, and see if they can't engineer a plate, and then you can have the pier where it adapts to your plate. Actually, I had everything done pretty cheap. In fact, it cost me nothing to have both piers because I had a friend who was a machinist who did everything. Works great. So I have two HEQ 6 mounts on two piers, and I have right now the Newtonian on one and the Edge on the other. Seeing must have gotten a little better. I'm seeing what looks like, but well, it's in and out. The focusing is going in and out. Starman, if I had to set up every night and every day, uh, I don't. I know my imaging time would be minimal because, as I said, I come home from dormant. Sometimes it's 8:30 or 9, and all I do is pull the covers off, come upstairs, turn everything on, and in my upstairs observatory, which is nothing more than a bonus room that's filled of computers and telescope parts and telescopes and mounts and a green screen that hides everything. So when I do these, you don't see the room that my wife tells me is an absolute total wreck. And it is. I don't care. But having a permanent setup is awesome. And the more now that uh, I'm so glad I don't have an observatory. I don't. I wouldn't want one now. I don't think if they gave it to me because the telegizmos work great, and the roll off roof. The room would have had to have been pretty good size for three different telescope kits to be set up, and I have three telescopes set out on a concrete pad outside, and it would have taken a large uh, building with a industrial size roll off roof to cover that kind of a space. And I don't think I would have want that. I wanted that in my backyard. So yes, I keep my mounts on my pier all year and my telescopes. I use. Let me see if we can't find. Let's go to. Uh, Here we go. These are the covers that I use, and I actually buy them larger than what's required, and they cover the scope. They're super heavy though. They're well made. They're just awesome, and they are theoretically they're designed to keep your telescope 10 degrees below ambient in the summertime and 12 degrees above ambient in the wintertime. But there's several different layers inside of fabric, and what looks like the last layer is a very strong tinfoil type of material. But they're awesome, and we've gone through hurricane winds, we've gone through 100-degree weather, humidity that's ridiculous, and snow, freezing rain, torrential rains, and they stay dry and they stay clean. you can snug them up underneath, particularly if you have a pier, and it works great. I think it's better than an observatory. The only advantage to an observatory that I see now is that your telescope is protected from the wind, and that's a huge plus, I might add. But it's still uh, the only thing I feel like I'm giving up. I better get out here and see what I'm. Oh, it didn't drift too much. Good. Let's move it up a little bit while we're previewing. I get asked from time to time from I get asked from people in Roper Mountain Astronomy and some others, why don't I use fire capture? And I have used fire capture and I really like it. It's just I started out using SharpCap 8 or 9 years ago, and uh, it's just become the software I'm the most comfortable with. I make the fewest mistakes with SharpCap. Yeah, seeing is not good. The stacking software, and specifically the algorithms in RegiStacks and in IMPPG, are so good. Though they can make an image where you've had some poor seeing. They can make the image uh, and auto stacker. Uh, can't speak highly enough about it. Will allow you to make a decision to delete some of the frames that are not worth keeping. So sometimes you can salvage this. I don't keep a large percentage of frames, even though the quality graph in AutoStacker might say that 2/3 of my frames are better than 50%. I usually don't keep but 15 to 20%. It makes processing go a lot faster, and I would rather use 100 frames out of 1,000 or 150 frames out of 1,000 that are really, really good than 60, than say 600 frames out of 1,000 that are filled with some good ones and some not so good ones. I use PIPP for the GIFs software here, and you just go to File, you add your source files, or you can go down here, add your image files, and once you've added them, then you go over here, and I usually select play all frames in reverse order after forward play because it just continues to loop. And then I select GIMP. I like to put about 30 frames rate. I like to select the maximum quality. Then I go to this and I do click on start processing, and it makes a gift. And it's called PIPP. It's post-processing, planetary post-processing, planetary imaging post-processing. Ooh, let's stop. 214. Let's move this up. I get carried away and I forget what I'm doing. When I start out, I am so diligent. And then by the time I'm on the last 100 frames, I get so sidetracked. All right, 214. I forgot where I was. I think it's 214. Yep. Yeah, there will be three software programs you're going to want to use. You'll want to use this software. Uh, And this is where you batch process the sharpening of your images. I already have done one image just to see what it was going to look like, and I want to click up here to fill my view. You get a box, and you can either make your adjustments within this box, or you can go up to edit and select and process all, and then you'll process it all at the same time. And what I like to do is to click on curves, and I'm going to anchor it there. It's anchored there, and I'm going to bring this up to about there. And I'm going to move this around to see if there's anything on the surface. I'm really just looking at the surface to see if there's any problems. And then you start adjusting this to expose for the problems, or they're really not prominences, it's just solar activity. And once you've done that, then you'll start making your sigma adjustment. Hang on a minute. And this will start sharpening up things. So process one, and then go up and click on File and save these process settings to a place where you'll be able to find them, because you'll end up loading them again. Then quit. And when you want to, I didn't mean to quit the software. And then when you want to do batch processing, go to File and click on Batch Processing, and you add all of the files. After you do your auto stack of TIFF files, then I usually blink through them in PixInsight and delete the ones I know are going to be not good. And then I add those files, and then you got to add your process settings. So you go to Browse, and you'll find wherever you save those process settings, and then you put an output folder and select what kind of a file you want. And I usually do a TIFF 8-bit with LZW processing. Then click on Processing, and it'll save all of the files that you did using those process settings to all of your TIFF files. And then from there, you'll go into your PIP software and load those and make your gift. I'm going to have to delete. Let's stop the capture after it gets finished. I'm at 206, so cancel. And I'm thinking I'd probably be better to say stop the I doubt those turned out any good. I'll just delete those three. And we now have 101. So let's go back and start our, well, let's recenter first. And let's go. Okay, let's go up. Too far. Down. And a little bit over. Okay. So we're going to do start capture 201. Alrighty. We're back in rock and rolling. I'm going to see Astro. Hang on a minute. Let me find. Okay. These are the pairs and the two HEQ drives. So have a good day, Mr. Starman. And this is the Solar Scout, and this is the Astro Tech 65 EDQ with the Quark Chromosphere and the 174. This is the tilt adapter I was telling you about. And this is the Celestron AVX mount. So that's the kit. The only difference is I have the 8-inch Newtonian on during Galaxy season. And let's go back to our software. Catch you later, Starman. Make lots of money so you can buy lots of kit. We're going to have to cancel this one. And let's see. Let's cancel these last two. Assume they're bad or delete them. And we're at 104, so we want to do 206 or 196. Yep. Let's recenter. Wrong way. Yeah, right way. Ooh, scene is awful. Okay, let's go to. I didn't want to do that. 196. Wow, scene conditions are just not good right now. I'll be deleting a number of these, I'm afraid. Hmm. We're live imaging our star. The This is the 19th day of April 2022, and activity on the surface, on the rim of the sun, hasn't been very remarkable, but these three sunspots, actually four sunspots, actually five sunspots, actually six, yeah, six sunspots have produced some excitement. Sun's become more active than anybody thought at this time in the solar cycle. Which I'm excited for. I'm 77 years old. I can't wait for too many solar cycles. Again, I'm going to refer back to the scene conditions and show you this weather software program called Meteo Blue, and I highly recommend it. Um, the scene conditions at 7, 8, 9 this morning were rated 4. If it's in the green, it's decent. Uh, what the arc second refers to is that if two stars were 1.97 arc seconds apart, you could tell that they're separate. You could tell they're two stars and not just one. When you get to 211, 217, 220 and higher, that's when the scene is bad. Then it just looks like one star. They have to be that far apart in order for you to see two stars. And and it's a combination of all three things: the jet stream and these two indexes. So this is a pretty bad time right here. So you want higher numbers if possible. And all the jet stream is pretty quiet. I've seen it in the 80s, which is, 90-mile-an-hour winds up there. Let's go see what damage we've done. Ooh, we're going to have to cancel this one. And how we moved. How did I drift that much? Let's go up. And let's go over. Let's go down a little bit. And let's find out how many. We're at 116. So we want to go back and see if we can't start capture. You want 180. Let's go 190. And I'm going to delete the last 4 because I was out. Off on another page and wasn't babysitting. My goal is 300 pictures or 300 AVI files. Uh, so far, uh, we've got 100 and 200, 110. I want 190 more. These are 1,000 frame videos, and I will keep uh, between 10 and 15% of the frames, between 100 and 150. I don't keep many. I just want the very best. And I've tried using auto stacker, and I'll save 20%, 10%, 20%, 30, 40, 50, 60. And and I always get a better image if I elect to keep a smaller percentage, and it processes so much faster. It's a lot easier and faster to process 100, 150 frames in an AVI than 1,000. Let's go west a little bit. Although this mount is aimed at the north celestial pole, it's not polar aligned, but I have drift in north and south, and I have backlash terrible in this Celestron AVX mount. But I expect it's a consumer mount on a lower end scale, and I don't expect perfection with the mount. So I babysit it to kind of keep it centered, these crosshairs, and I'm using this as my reference point, this one sunspot. And I just try to move the crosshairs in the center of that one sunspot. Uh, you don't have to be exact, but the more exact you are, uh, the less cropping the software is going to do when it aligns the images. One way, right in the middle of a capture, so I'll have to go delete that. Okay, we're at 183. In other words, 184. So I'm going to go down and capture this last one, or delete this last one. I'm having a hard time talking again. And we're going to go back. This time we're going to start capture 184. We're off. I'm capturing 1,000 frames for each AVI file, and we're running around 100 frames per second. So it doesn't take any time at all to pull this off. But the scene conditions are just awful. And it makes it look like I don't have a focus. And I may have focusing problems too, but the scene is the real issue I'm dealing up against right now. Big time. Ooh, look at the waviness. This is all scene related issues. I was kind of hoping that we would have some great conditions for imaging the sun today. We have ice blue, crystal clear skies. It poured down rain all day yesterday, and it cooled off last night. So we have a real nice, cool morning. And I was hoping that that was going to translate into some great scene, but nope. As a matter of fact, scene is expected to be bad until uh, about 1 o'clock, and that's when I'm going to stop the. I'm going to stop about 1:30 because the sun transits then, and however many I'm able to get between now and 1:30 will be what I will work with. Be quite honest with you, it doesn't bode well, and I doubt I'll probably get another 110 more. So I should have about 220, 230 maybe. Get over there. Oh, that cleared up nicely. I wish the sun looked like that all the time. I took flat frames when I first started. I have to remove these dust spots here, and there's some out here in the dark area as well. This is the plan was to have a 300 AVI file time lapse. Each AVI file is 1,000 frames. My plan is to keep between 10 and 15% of the frames per AVI file, process them in AutoStacker, stack them into a TIFF image, then take them into IMPPG, image processing software, and process for the surface activity as well as the sunspots, sharpen, add some clarity, save those processes, and then batch process all of them, and then open them up into PIPP software and create a GIF movie file. That's the plan. Yep. Cancel. Let's get recentered. Mount is really misbehaving today. It's not always this bad. Okay, 131, so we're at 169 left, so capture. Let's go 169 and start. It's already drifted. I think I'm gonna think I'm going to put it on. Here we go. I think this is going to be a good time to sign off and see if I can't talk my wife into fixing me a barbecue sandwich because I am getting hungry, and I'll stay here and babysit this mount, and you won't have to hear me chewing. Okay, guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I will catch you later. Have an awesome day.